What is happening, y'all? We are back at it again with another video. We are going to be reacting to Hormozi's Playbook by Chris Williamson and him. You know him and Hormozi. So let's get this show onto a road.
Many of your lessons as we can in about 3 hours, and we're going to see what we can get through. First one, a friendly reminder that in 3 generations, everyone who knew us will be dead.
In 3 generations, everybody who knew us will be dead. Everybody will be forgotten. You'd just be a picture on another wall, or a story wouldn't be told by your parents, or not by your parents, but by your children and by your grandchildren. So in 3 generations, we will be forgotten, we'll be dead, and we will live to see another day. We will concede at that day. Okay?
Including the people whose opinions stopped you from doing what you want.
Including the people's opinions who stopped you from doing what you wanted. Whatever you are trying to do, whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever you're trying to become, whatever you're trying to state, knowing that you will be better and you will achieve greatness, where greatness has been taughting you less and teaching you less.
It all along. Imagine that someone you know achieves every dream and hits every goal they have.
Imagine someone achieves every dream and hits every goal that they have, and they have made, and they have stated, and they have done more because they are wanting to become that better version, that more discreetful version, that more understanding, that more perspective, that more identity, that more shifts. Because without shifting our perspective and shifting how we want to think, then we may never know where this life will lead us to. Okay?
Years later, they get old and die. 2 years after that, how much do you care? About as much as everyone else will if you accomplish your goals and dreams. Do it for you.
So I think about death all the time because it's probably the central theme. It's probably the...
I think about death too, because without the serenity of death and the serenity of where we are trying to keep our minds, death is inevitable. Without death, we are nothing without the living life of our passions, of our fuels, of our identity. Okay?
thing that I think the most about, and I think that influences how I see time, and also how I think how it influences agency, like what actions I'm willing to take despite the judgment of others. And so a lot of times, and it might be because I have more insecurity than everyone, that I think like, man, I want to do this thing, and then I hear all these other voices of reasons why I shouldn't do it, or why somebody else will say, like, that's bad, or you're bad, or like, that's wrong, whatever. And so I think I've had to come up with a lot of these devices to get around my own insecurities, to take action despite those insecurities. And the biggest one that I think about is that it doesn't matter whether I achieve all of my goals or I don't.
It doesn't matter if he achieves all of his goals or he doesn't. He will still persevere. He will still do more work. He will still put more willpower into it, because you know you can be more, and you know you will be more, because you are wanting to achieve that greater goal at the end of the day and at the end of the line. Okay? Because whatever goals, whatever dreams, whatever vision you have, you can do more. You can act more. You can be more. You can say more, because you are trying to become more. And when you are trying to become more, you learn to achieve more.
Don't achieve all of the goals in 3 generations, I'll be forgotten, and the only people who were naysaying against me will also be dead.
And whoever's naysaying against you will also be dead. Without that freeing thought, without that freeing saying, you may never know until you are dead and on your deathbed, which is why you will never know. And they will never know. Okay?
So then it's like, just do it for me. And then when I wake up,
and when you do it for you, when you do it for me, when you do it for yourself, it's not selfish, it's selfless. Because When you do it for yourself, you know you can be more. You know you want to be more. You know you say you can be more. So do it for you. If you don't do it for you, do it for your grandparents. Do it for your being of wanting it to become better.
Every day, there's only one voice I have to listen to.
There's only one voice that he has to listen to, and that is his own self. His own being of present to be with himself, to listen to himself. So we must listen for ourselves, because if not, then we will be forgotten within 3 generations. Okay? Keep that in mind.
But that means that you need to be able to work out what to do from first principles. You now no longer have societal norms or assistants or role models or archetypes or expectations. And that's also difficult in a different way.
For the first time in modern history, college student graduates are more unemployed than high school students.
I think that the more you flex whatever that muscle is of like independent thinking, the more it becomes the default way that you think. And then everyone else's action is just start looking more and more insane to you.
What's an example of that you can think of?
I mean, shoot. Just the most basic ones of like living the life that you don't want, not wearing what you want to wear,
not living the life you don't want to live, not wearing the thing you want to wear because you are trying to become more, you're trying to achieve more, you're trying to do more because you are willing to live the life that you are trying to live. And when you are trying to live the life, you are trying to make that a happenstance, a doing, a thinking, a actionable step that leads you down the right path.
dating who you want to date, not living where you want to live. Like you're living at home and you want to move and your parents say no and you don't make the move, or you're dating a girl because she's socially accepted, by your friend group. She's safe, but like there's always some distance in between you, but you're like, I don't want to risk it, right? Or like you're in the job and every day you go there and you're like, I mean, it's okay. And the idea of just living an okay life just sounds so terrifying to me that the freedom to fail over and over again is.
I would rather fail than do more than what needs to be done. Because if we fail, if we succeed, then we know that we can be more. And when we can be more, we can achieve more, we can do more, we can think more. Because we are more.
Though more fulfilling to me. At least it feels like it's real than walking through kind of on autopilot. And so I think that's a lot of the choices that other people make that seem insane to me now, but didn't seem insane to me a decade ago. You know what I mean? I think it's just like as you practice taking more agency, taking more responsibility for the decisions, then you just get better and better at it. And then it just seems more and more ridiculous. They're like, I just can't quit my job. And you're like, why? Like, no, physically, why? Like, why can't you quit your job? Like, you know what I mean? They start hyperventilating, and it's like, could you move in with your parents? Could you move in with a friend? Could you split rent? I mean, I could, but I mean, other people who are going to die in 100 years would think what? And one of my favorite ones is, and I say this all the time to Layla, like whenever we're getting to some sort of like mini complaint, it's like, if you zoom out far enough, you can't see the earth. So we're talking about like, oh man, they're gonna mess up this order on this vendor's. But I was like, if you zoom out far enough, you can't see the Earth. It's just like it just puts everything immediately into perspective of how ridiculous some of the things that we're concerned about are.
Sean Puri's got this thing where he says, don't follow what most people do because you don't want the results that most people get.
You don't follow what most people do because you don't want the results that most people get. And whatever those results, whatever those things that they're doing that most people do, because you don't want the results that they will get and that you will get because you are so afraid and so scared of failure or whatever it is you're running away from.
The average person is obese, likely to be divorced, and has less than 1K in the bank. It feels safe to do what everyone else is doing, but it's actually a terrible decision.
It's like the best way to guarantee to not have the life that
We are back.
everyone else is doing. Unless you want what everyone else has, which no one does.
If you want what everyone else's have, which no one wants what everyone else has, which means you must be the exception. You must be the person that is the exception within your life, which means you need to do more, you need to be more, you need to act more, you need to say more, and you need to do more. Because when you do more, you become more, you become that better version, you become that better self, you become that better being. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, it's being able to think for yourself and treating it like a muscle, I think, is a smart way to consider it, because
Very smart word, because if you train it as a muscle, you will get better and you will achieve more than what other people will never see it as. Only you see the vision, only you see the dream, only you see the business to where you see fit. Okay? So don't allow other people to persuade you or to state otherwise. Okay?
in the beginning, it's really, really hard. You've been resting on societal norms and the way you've dealt with past trauma and your parents' expectations and what all of your friends do and what's accepted and all of this stuff for so long that when it first comes to you needing to step on that muscle, it's like trying to move your ears. Like, all humans have got muscles that can move their ears, but because no one works it as a child, they just atrophy away. And this is the ear muscle of personal growth.
I like that. It's the ear muscle personal growth. Okay? When you're trying to build your persona, build your perspective, build your muscles because you are trying to become more fit, become more weaponized, become more yourself, then you and only you can help you become that. Okay?
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? You may qualify for the IRS Fresh Start program. If eligible,
I think I had a lot of practice with it because I had a lot of people have many voices that they hear that they feel are judging them, right? They have their friends, they have their uncle, they have their siblings, they have their cousins, coworkers, whatever. I think I had just one voice that I heard really loudly. And I was talking to one of our employees the other day, and I was trying to put it in perspective, a younger guy. And I was like, imagine how much you care about your mother's opinion and your father's opinion and and all of those other people. I was like, and now imagine that there's literally only one, because I had no siblings. I basically had no mother. I had just a father. And so like his approval was literally everything. And he disapproved of the path that I wanted to take in my life. And so I think a lot of these mental faculties or these little frameworks or these isms just came from like, how can I combat this incredibly booming voice in the background? Because like when I look at what I was doing at the time, like I was a consultant, I graduated in 3 years, I took the consulting job, I did all the things. But the craziest thing was at the moment that my father was most proud of me, and he approved of my life the most, was when I was the saddest. And so that's when I was like, maybe his approval isn't the right way to feel good about life. And so that started basically the 6-month journey from when I decided that I wanted to change my life till when I changed it. And I think that like as you become more able or more potent or higher agency, that timeline between when you decide you want to do something and when you actually do it just continues to compress, right? Like now if I want to change something, I'm like, let's change it, like done. We walk out of a thing, I was like, we're never going to do that podcast again, or I don't want to talk to this person again, or whatever it is, right? Whereas before it's like, okay, I have to sleep on it. I have to really think about it. And like, how am I going to, it's like, why do I care about how I'm going to say it? This is what it is, done. And it's just like, and that timeline is compressed, but the hardest one for me, like the first one was by far the hardest. And everyone since then, the nice thing is that no matter how difficult your circumstance is, if you have, like the bigger the wall that you have to get through is, as soon as you get past that one big wall, you then can use that wall as the evidence for why you can jump over the next wall. Because
when you use the evidence, when you use the skills, when you use the thing to jump over the next wall, because you want to be more, you want to get more, you want to achieve more, you want to believe more, you want to do more, because you are trying to be who you are now. Okay?
that will be the biggest one. And so like after I did quit my job and left my house and left Baltimore and didn't tell my dad until I was across the country because I was so afraid, like people think of me as like some big alpha, whatever. I was like, I was so afraid of my father's disapproval that I didn't tell him until I physically left the state. Like I'm not like, think about that. Like I wasn't even just one state over. I was like 5 states over. And then I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to California. And he was like, well, let's come over. We'll talk about it. And I was like, I'm in Ohio.
Already here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Already.
And then then obviously he had a different reaction. Right. But then after that, it was like, what do I have to do now? It's like, oh, I gotta sell strangers. And I was like, I told my dad I didn't want to do what he wanted. How hard could this be? And so like it then becomes this one huge proof point. So the bigger the dragon is that you have to slay, the more evidence you have that you can slay that.
The more bigger the dragon is that you slay, the more evidence that you have to slay that bigger dragon, to slay that bigger obstacle, to slay that bigger understanding. Because you want to be more and you know you can be more. Okay?
Next dragon. And I think that is, if there's ever been a good point for why getting over the one first hard one is so hard, is that it will then give you the reinforcement that you can do whatever you need to do next.
Yeah, the life you want is on the other side of a few hard conversations.
Life you want is on a few side of, or is on the other side of a few hard conversations that you need to have. And whatever these hard conversations are, knowing that you will get better, knowing that you will make money sooner or later, it just will take time, effort, and consistency to make that money, to make that dream happen. Because if you want that dream to happen, then you have to be the one to initiate it, to do it, to think it, to act it, to believe it, and to achieve it. Okay?
And you're living a life you hate because you're too afraid to have them.
I finally realized why all the big companies use Navan to manage their business travel. With Navan Company Travel,
I think about that a lot because like whenever I feel anxious or insecure or angry or sad, I'm like, what conversation do I need to have that I'm not having? And so then, and usually if I just think for not that long, I'm like,
what conversation are you trying to have but that you are not having? Because if life is on a few seconds of hard conversations through hard disciplines, through hard topics, through hard things, then you may never know what this next hard conversation will lead you to. Okay?
This is the conversation I've been putting off. And then, you know, I'm not the poster child of mental health. And so I'll just call myself a pansy for not having the conversation. And then I just have it. And so again, I think it's like, I need to have this conversation, and the time between when I have it versus, or when I know I need to have it, when I actually have it, just continues to compress. And if you've ever had like a breakup or a employee firing, or a quitting, if you're an employee, like these things that you dread, I don't know if you notice it, but like the day you do it, the moment after you do it, I'm like, how many other conversations can I have? Like, I want to be like, I'm like, who else do I need to talk to? Yeah, totally. Because
become a serial killer for awkward conversations.
So like the next series of hard conversations that I had after I left home was actually like years later. So I had multiple partners I had a partner in one of my gyms. I had a partner in 4 other gyms. I had a partner in a chiro and dental marketing agency, and all of them relied on me to make money. And so all of their livelihoods were still dependent on me, but I was splitting everything, and it was horrible for me at the time. And so I remember when I I ended up getting in a DUI, and I talked to a performance coach or whatever, and he was like, your stress and these conversations could literally kill you. He's like, they almost did. So I got in a head-on collision at 60 miles an hour and I walked away, no injuries. But it was like my wake-up call, but not to stop drinking. It was my wake-up call that I needed to have these conversations. And that's what I was avoiding when I was drinking. It wasn't the alcohol. It was what were the things that I'm avoiding, that I'm using alcohol to get away from. And so the next day, I had the first conversation with the first partner, and it was horrible. But the moment I was done, I was like, I got to call the other guy. And I called the other one. I was like, this is how it is. And the thing is I had this backstop of my death, of like, you almost just died because you wouldn't have this conversation. And
You almost just died because you couldn't have this conversation, or you wouldn't have this conversation because you were afraid to have this conversation because of discipline, skills, habits, beliefs, whatever it is you want to call it, stopped you from having that hard conversation. Okay?
so then it just gave me this courage to just be like, and whatever the reaction was, I was like, I'd rather be alive. Like, that was it. And so it's weird though, because death has been this really recurring theme in my life, that like the same thing happened when I was like the only thing that gave me enough balls to stand up to my dad, to be fair, from a distance from the car when I was driving halfway across the country. Like, let's not make me into too big of a hero here. Was the idea that like I started thinking like every day, I was like, I hope I don't wake up. You know what I mean? And that was the thing where I was like, this is a big enough problem that like, if you don't want to wake up, then
What have you got to lose?
exactly.
What have you got to lose? What do you have to gain? What do you have to gain is more the expertise, more the advice, more the opinion, more the approval of others, because you are trying to become more. And when you're trying to become more, you learn more, you achieve more, you do more, you are more, because you are trying to become more. Okay?
And that was it. And I was like, I have nothing to lose. And that was when I think in the last podcast we talked about this, where it's like, if everybody who's like at the bottom and feels like they have nothing going for them.
When you're at the bottom and feel like you have nothing going for them, then that means you have nothing left to fucking lose, which means you have all of what to gain and all of what to say and all of what to do and all of what to become and all of what to learn and all what to grow, because you are trying to become more. You're trying to do more. You're trying to live more. You're trying to understand more, because you're trying to do more than what is needed to be done. Okay?
Reframe that as, I have nothing going for me, which also
means you have nothing left to lose. Okay? When you have nothing going for you, then that means that you have nothing left to lose. And when you have nothing left to lose, then you have everything of what to gain. Okay? Keep that in mind.
means that I have nothing to lose by taking action, it makes you a much more dangerous person. And I think that was the flip that I've had repeatedly shown to me in my life that allowed me to take the step that I was afraid to take.
Have I told you about the region beta paradox? Have you
No.
seen that one?
Oh,
okay, so this is interesting. So imagine that you had to go a mile or less, and if you did...
A mile?
A mile.
Okay.
If you had to travel a mile or less, you would walk it. And if you had to go more than a mile, you would drive it.
Okay.
So paradoxically, you would go 2 miles quicker than you would go 1 mile.
Uh-huh.
If you follow that rule, the important insight here is that if you only take action when things cross a certain threshold of badness, sometimes better things can feel worse than worse things.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look around and you see that people are stuck in region beta, this zone of comfortable complacency, right? It's the guy that sticks in his just okay job because his boss isn't too much of a dick, but the pay isn't that good and he's not really that passionate, but it's all right, whatever. The person that stays in the acceptable relationship, they're not that fired up, but they're not really in love and their partner's not really got much alignment with their interests. Or the person that stays in a crappy apartment and there's a bit of mold in the ceiling, but it's cheap and it's in a off if their situations were worse, because it would give them the activation energy to kick them out.
All of these people would be better off with their situations worse because they give them the act energy to kick them older self out, that past self, that understanding self. They'd be better off because you know you can be more and you know you want to be more, which means you have to do more if you want to become that better version of yourself for today. Hopefully that makes sense.
Of the bottom, and their only regret would be not doing it sooner.
Chatbots talk. Base 44 super agents work. Set up in seconds and ready to go. Want to know what your competitors are up to?
I love that. So it's funny because if I look back on the instances that were the most painful in my life, every single one of them, without fail, has created a disproportionate gain, right? Like the most painful thing early on for me was quitting my job and leaving my dad, basically. And then that created my first.
That'll create the story that you will one day tell. Okay? And through this story, we know that we can be more because we want to be more and we want to do more and we want to achieve more. So continue, persevere, do more, think more, be more, because you know you want to be more. Okay.
My first business and the gyms and all of that stuff. Getting into the DUI, the head-on collision, and like that whole situation got me out of all of these failed partnerships that I wasn't willing to do. But in the moment, I was like, I'm such a failure. Like I suck at everything. But that gave me the springboard. When I lost everything the first time after that, that then gave me like the idea that I needed to change the business model around. Right. And
when you want to change your business model, you have to change it right then and there, because if not, you could fail again and again. Like for me, I will not stop posting on YouTube because I know YouTube I will get the traction sooner or later, because when I stop posting on Instagram, my content died. So if you stop posting content, your content will die. And when it dies, you might never come back alive again.
That's what switched me into the licensing model, right? And so like each of these times, and then that became, the first real fortune.
This is kind of like alchemy.
Yeah.
Like turning something which is worse than useless into something that's as precious and useful as possible.
I'm sure you know the parable of the man and his son, and he like buys the son a horse.
We are back. We are at it again with another video. Let me see what percentage I'm at. Ooh, we are at 10%. That is not a good thing. So let me charge this thing up and let's get this video off to a fantastic start, won't we?
Understand, we assume that it's because they're just evil people, and most people aren't that way. They're this way because they've been reinforced or punished for doing something like that in the past. And especially for her, she was reinforced for acting a certain way over and over and over again, to the point that it was core to her character. And so when that got put on me, I was like, I hate you, you're terrible, you're evil, like blah. But like when I looked at it on a much longer time horizon of like, she was 4 years old when she came here, she couldn't speak English, she got beat up as a kid, like all these things. I'm like, you know what? Maybe give her a little grace. And I remember when I came back, and it was right around that same time where I realized I was giving this person all this power. She yelled at me for something when I came back home from college my freshman year. And it was a standard fight, like here's the button that I press to get into the normal fight that we get into. I just remember she hit the button, and I just like wasn't that upset. And it's like I felt nothing. She like hit the button, she like hit it again harder, and I was like, I just remember looking at her and being like, I get it. I'm sorry. Like you had a tough life. And then she just broke down and started crying because it was like she felt understood. And I think I know that was a roundabout way of getting back to regrets, but he regretted how he had raised her. But through his regrets, I got to see why she was the way she was, and then it diffused the bomb that was between me and her.
Did I tell you that story Douglas Murray told me about regrets from Christopher Hitchens? Brilliant. So Christopher Hitchens, one of the new atheists, was sat in some British pub with Douglas Murray when Douglas is young, and you can imagine it's some musty Chesterfield sofa. He's probably got a cigarette in his mouth and a glass of scotch or something. And Douglas is vacillating between these two different choices that he needs to make, and he is complaining, lamenting the fact that I have this thing, but I have this thing, and if I do this thing, I can't do this thing, and what do I do? And apparently Hitch sat back and Douglas, in life, we must choose our regrets. And I was like, fuck.
We must choose our regrets, because if we don't choose our regrets, then we may never know what this life will lead us to, where it will bring us to, what point it will lead us to, and what understanding it will lead us to, okay? Which is why choosing your regrets is one of the best things that you can ever do, so you can live the life that you want to live, okay?
So I'm three Manhattans deep in Douglas Murray's apartment in Manhattan at 2 a.m, and he sneaks off to the toilet, and I quickly write this down because I know that my half-cut alcohol brain isn't going to remember it. So I note it down. That was all the trigger that I needed, which is also a good argument for noting things down. And I must have reflected on that for a year. I must have thought about it for a year. In life, we must choose our regrets. What the fuck does that mean? Okay. First off, in an existence where opportunity cost is baked in, because you don't get to split test life, and by doing a thing, you can't do a different thing.
You must split test life, and by doing a thing, you can't do a different thing, because if you put all your energy and attention to that one thing, for me, that's content. For you, whatever it is you're doing, your business, whatever it is that you are doing, whatever that so-called thing is, knowing that we must go
I have the choice between going to the gym and going to the theme park. If I go to the gym, therefore I can't go to the theme park.
So when you choose what you want to focus on, what you want to put your attention on, what you want to do, I would rather be making fucking content than be on my ass playing video games or listening to a movie or Spotify. Because I would rather make content, because this is for my business, this is for my identity, this is for my shifting of skills. Does that make sense?
Even if the decision of going to the gym was the right call, I will always have the open loop of, but what if I'd gone to the theme park? You can't ever know, right? Okay, so that means that fundamentally, regrets are baked in to our existence.
And when the regrets are baked into our existence, then we know with what we can choose, with what we can decide on regretting things later down the line. Because for me, I'm trying to post one podcast all the way through per day and 5 to 6 reaction videos per day. Per fucking day. And I'm going to start this on Sunday and Monday. And I will not stop. I will not quit until my eyes fucking bleed and until my voice fucking goes shut. Okay?
I'd always thought that the reason that I had a regret was due to some suboptimal decision that I'd made. If only I'd made this decision better, I could have ameliorated the regret. Okay, so regrets are an unavoidable part of being a human.
And when they are the unavoidable part of being you, then regrets, you must choose them. You must decide with what. You must decide the action energy on what the fuck you want to choose to regret and what you choose, what you want to become. Hopefully that makes sense.
Byproduct of opportunity cost, which you can't get away from. But what does it mean that you have to choose your regrets? Okay. Well, if regrets are inevitable, if they're going to happen no matter what, an easy way to look at a decision is, rather than which do I want to do,
choose what do I want to decide by the end of the minute before the hour. Because if you choose the hour, then you wasted your time on doing a decision that did not matter you in the first place. So it did not have any effect or realization or thoughts or whatever it is you want to do. You choose with what you want to choose.
Which
regret could I live with? Because there are certain regrets that you can't bear living with. Now, you can bear living with them, but they're going to be worse than other ones. So what is the difference between I need to have a difficult decision, I need to have a difficult conversation with my boss about leaving to go and do this thing, or I need to, that's the regret, that's one regret of the sitting down and seeing them face to face and telling them you're going to leave their small mom and pop business and you're the main salesperson and it's going to be terrible and they're going to cry and you're going to feel like a piece of shit. That's one regret. Another regret is looking back at a decade that you waste in a job that you fucking hate.
Yeah.
So in life, you have to choose your regrets.
I love that as a decision-making frame because it also jumpstarts our fear engine. Because rather than saying like, what do I want? It's what do I hate least? And so we get to run it. So then you get to use your run away from engine rather than you go towards to it.
Yeah, the
right?
mouse and the cheese again.
Yeah. And was it you who was telling me that?
Yeah, with the cat.
I mean,
yep.
So I'm just gonna butcher what you told me. But why don't you share that? Like how much?
Yeah. This was on our last episode, so this is the sequel for the people that were listening. Jordan Peterson talks about the study where they starve a rat and they put it into a tube. They waft the smell of cheese in from the front, and there's a spring attached to the rat's tail, so they can work out how hard it's pulling. How hard it's pulling is a proxy for desire, for how much it wants it. You'd think this rat is starving; it's going to pull as hard.
And desire. Without the proxy, we don't know with what we truly want to desire. And what we truly want to desire is the more outcomes, more being, more things that we want to attach to our tools, to our tool belt. Okay?
Because it can't. So it wafts the smell of cheese in and it runs towards it and whatever. They do another iteration of the study. This time they waft the smell of cheese in from the front and the smell of a cat in from behind. It pulls harder. Why? Because not only in life do you want to run towards something you want, but you want to run away from something that you fear. And this ties into your...
You want something, or you want to run to something that you fear and that you desire. Okay. If you don't run from something you fear, you're not doing, you're not being, you're not doing more, you're not acting more. And when you run towards something that you, how do you said fear? So when you desire, whatever you desire, the money, the happiness, the girl, the decision, the channel, whatever it is you're trying to desire, knowing that you also have to run towards something that you fear. So those two things, fear and desire, they coexist. They conform within the compact of the snowball to the conformity of the comfort of your standards. Okay?
The three most common traits of very successful people: superiority complex, massive crippling insufficiency, and impulse control. So superiority complex, I can achieve this thing, that's the cheese. Crippling sense of insufficiency, I fear the cat. Impulse control, I'm in a tube. There is only one direction that I can go. I don't need to make a choice.
That's what I want. Fear of insufficiency and direction. Those are the only two things that I want you guys to take up from what I was saying and what he was saying. Okay?
I love this a lot as a frame for decision making, because think about the decision that we were just talking about, right? So it's like I'm the sales guy and I stay, and like if you were to frame it in upsides, it's like upside is I keep these.
I'm gonna go grab my water, so I'll be back. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of this video? Chris? Ovens? Noah? Thank you all. Let's continue. All right, I got my water, so let's get this show onto a road.
Friends,
right?
But
I want to leave so that I can start this business, right? Those are the upsides. But when you think about it in terms of like, I wasted a decade of my life
not living
the life I want.
Wasted a decade of your life not living the life that you want because you're living somebody else's fantasy, dream, thing. You were living another person's reality, their desire. You weren't living the life that you want to live, which is why I'm not going to stop making content until I hit 4 million subscribers. I'm going to post as much as humanly possible because I know my content is good and I know I will not stop. Okay?
To me,
even when I say it, it sounds more motivating, even though it's the exact same thing. It's like losing $100 versus gaining $100. People have 3 times higher loss aversion. And so it's like, if you can't get yourself to do something, think about it from the perspective of what you have to lose rather than what you have to gain.
You've got a quote that I love. My biggest fear is getting to the end of my life and thinking I wasn't good enough.
Getting to the end of life and thinking I wasn't good enough, having regrets, having missed desires, having a missed reality with where you want to become, achieve, learn, and grow.
What's that mean?
What does that mean?
And
I'll define good enough as I could have tried harder.
I could have tried harder by the definition of being good enough. Feeling the best, feeling this honesty, feeling this power of desire, habit, belief, thing. This so-called thing to build and have repetition on learning and achieving and growing and becoming until you build a bridge over the sea of the water, which is called your time and your life. Okay?
Like I want
to leave everything on the field.
And
one of the things that has helped me a lot, I mean, in the quote that went unbelievably viral.
Do you want me to do it again? Do I need to do it again?
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete.
You don't
gain confidence by shouting affirmations.
You don't gain confidence by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You gain confidence by building a stack of proof, an undeniable bridge of proof over the sea, which is called your life. By building proof, by building identity, by building the life that you want to live. Okay?
in the mirror,
but by giving yourself a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork yourself out.
And again,
a lot of the tweets that I have are notes to self. Because I have a big presentation coming up. We got 500,000 people who are registered for this book launch that are coming out. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, how can I guarantee that when I step off stage, no matter what happens, I feel like I've accomplished, that I've done a good job, that I can look at myself in the mirror and say, good work.
And
when I was younger, I used to have no way to do that. And that's because I measured everything on outcomes. But I feel like as I've gotten a little bit more experienced, I do have a way to win now.
But it's hard.
And the way that I win is when I finish and I say that there's nothing else I could have done.
And so that means that
like the reason that I feel confident about this book that's coming out is I wrote 19 drafts of the book, 4 full rewrites end to end to make the book. I did 6 hours a day, my first 6 hours from 6 a.m. till noon every day for 2 years to get this book to where it is now. And when I was done with the book, I was like, there's nothing else I can do to this. Like, this is it. There's nothing else. Like, I can't make it simpler. I can't make it shorter. I can't cut it. I can't add a visual that I should have added. It's done. And so to the same degree, with the presentation that I have, I gave myself this framework of like, okay, well, if I were to speak in front of 10,000 people, I would probably spend a good amount of time prepping the presentation to make sure it was good. I was like, well, I'm going to speak in front of 500,000. I was like, so I can rationalize spending 50 times the amount of work and effort and time to make make this thing exceptional? Because I mean, the numbers are hard to fathom, but that is the numbers. Like if I had a 10,000, that's what I would do. And so it allowed me to take a presentation and, I have 900 slides that I'm going to get through in 60 minutes. And I have now every single day I do a full draft I'd say the presentation in my head, and then I do a second run where I say it out loud and I record it. And then after I record it, I play the recording with the slides up, and I fix or add every slide where I stumble or there's something that should be there or visual, and I keep going until right now I'm a week and change out, and there's not much else I can do to it. And so I'll still continue to do that from now until the day that it happens, but I probably won't have as many changes because I should just keep nailing it. And then when I get up there, it doesn't matter if the tech doesn't work or if the book shopping page cart doesn't work or whatever it is, because I'll be able to step off stage and look in the mirror and be like, you did everything you could. And the thing is like no one else will know that, because I know that like I could not do that, and I probably like a lot of people were like, dude, you have so much goodwill, you could probably just say like, here's the book, but I would know. And if I believe what I say I do, which is that I'm the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner of my own
Ultimate judge, jury, and executioner
self-esteem
of his decisions, of his idea, of his self-esteem, because without you not being the judge, jury, and executioner, then you don't know where this life will lead you to, where that dreams, where that goals, where that reality will lead you to, because you are so afraid of being the judge, jury, and executioner, which everything that we revolve around is our time, and how we insist in our actions and our reactions based around different things.
Then I'm the only person who can say good job or not. And unfortunately, I have incredibly high standards. And so I can either just always feel like a failure because I always fall short of my own standards, or I can create a standard that I willingly and consciously accept, which is that I will do enough work that there is nothing left to be done.
When you do enough work where there's nothing left to be done, nothing left in the tank, nothing left in yourself, then you know that you accomplished everything, making your eyes bleed and voice bleed. Because without making them fucking bleed, you don't know how much work you can truly fucking do until it's truly done. So do more work that needs to be done, state more things that needs to be done, and do more realizations that bring you to that better perspective. Okay?
And that means that I can also do fewer things, which means I have to be more selective about the things that I choose to do. But when I do them, they will be done well and they will be done right.
They say that true hell is when the person that you are meets the person that you could have been.
True hell means true hell is when the person who you are meets the person that you could have been. Without meeting the person that you could have been, you must meet what you are truly trying to become now. Because if not, you'll be blindsided, you'll be corrupted, you'll be so caught up in the loop where you don't know where this life will lead you to. Okay?
And
This is Pocket. I never go anywhere without it. At the tap of a button, it records and creates organized notes based on your conversations. I use it at work, at the doctor's, and when I'm out and about. I could use an app, but it's effortless. Pocket does things no other app can do. Inside, it has a contact mic. So when I snap it to the back of my phone, it can listen to both sides of a call. No speakerphone needed. Because no one wants to be that person. This is my favorite part. I open the app, and Pocket gives me full notes for everything I record. It knows who said what, creates over 100 types of summaries, and action items are pulled out automatically. It even has a mind map of all my to-dos from every meeting in one place. The battery lasts 4 days on a single charge, with 64 gigs of storage. It also works in over 120 languages, which is about 119 more than I do.
A lot of the time, I think we look at sports stars. I'm watching this quarterback on Netflix at the moment, and Patrick Mahomes is just this artist.
artist. He's a halfway between a warrior and a savant, and an artist and a musician and an everything rolled together, right? The reason that we love seeing behind the scenes with stuff like that is it is somebody at the absolute zenith of their capacity, and they are putting everything that they can into making this as good as possible. And I think that I sometimes find myself getting, I certainly did before I had the podcast, I was wistful that I have the raw materials to work very hard at things, and I'd never had a pursuit that I could have applied it to. There was nothing. I remember the first time I ever heard Peterson say, work as hard as you can at one thing for a year and see what happens. And I'd never had a thing that I could work.
Work as hard as you can at a thing for a year. For me, that's my content. That's me trying to make the best content, make all the versions of my content the best as humanly possible. Which is why I'm trying to do one podcast for every single day for one sitting through. Okay?
Work
hard at business, but the line between your inputs and your outcomes is so meandering and messy that I can always excuse away good or bad performances as not being on me. And for the most part, I would take responsibility for the bad ones and not take responsibility for the good ones, because that's how I'm wired. But I never had something that was linear, close to linear. I'm like, I put an hour in and I get an hour out, or more than an hour out, and it's direct. And then about 3 years ago, I had this conversation with Dean, my video guy. I was like, I want to turn pro. I read Stephen Pressfield, War of Art, and then I read Turning Pro. I want to turn pro with the show. What's that mean? What would it mean if I treated this pursuit like an athlete does? So an athlete, they review game tape, and they do mindset work, and they've got a sports psychologist, and they look at what they eat, and they look at what they drink, and they go to bed on time, and they're hanging around with people that are growth-minded, and they're getting the right coaches, and all the rest. Everything is done in order to facilitate performance in the thing that they say they care about. But everybody has the opportunity to do that. You just need to define what the thing is. I'm never going to be Patrick Mahomes, right? No. But I managed to find my thing, and then nearly kill myself.
Manage to finding your thing. Finding your thing can be anything. For me, that's my content. And without me and my content on my channel, then I may never know where this life will lead me to. Okay?
Self and
dedication toward it.
Yeah, I wanna.
There's
a photo that I put up on my Instagram a little while ago. 2 weeks after I ruptured my Achilles.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm in a boot, and I've got the laptop on my lap, and we've created this arm that'll bring the mic to me because I didn't want to stop doing the podcast because I'd made this commitment. I'm going to turn pro. And for 3 years, we haven't missed a single episode 3 times a week. 3 times a week.
Alright, this will be part 1. I'll react to part 2 and part 3 when I come back from my trip. So that's all I have for you guys. Sorry I couldn't make it through the full entire podcast, but I have to get this done. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and yeah, peace.